Hello and welcome. I'm your host, author Ryan M. Oliver, and this is the Mighty Books Podcast. This week's featured author is Elisa Hawkinson. Elisa Hawkinson, author of Calming Your Chaos, has supported individuals and businesses in downsizing and decluttering. She is the founder and CEO of How to Get Organized. Lisa offers strategizing support for those downsizing and or moving. She guides people each step of the way and offers tips to make the job easier. She also suggests local resources for places to make donations and resources for selling items. Her goal is to help everyone see the value in having a home ready to list in 30 days. Lisa is passionate about helping people understand how decluttering a house and being ready to list reduces stress. How to Get Organized is empathy-centered and support-driven. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of the Mighty Books Podcast. Today with me, I have Elisa Hawkinson. Lisa, how are you today?
I'm doing well, thank you.
So here to talk about your book today. What's the title of your book?
Calming Your Chaos.
And can you tell us a little about what that is about?
It's just helping people to lessen the load on their life, accumulating too much stuff. So they're ready to move or downsize or just have a simple life. I think that'd be a good way to say it.
Now, what inspired you to write a book on clearing the clutter, as it were?
So I heard a podcast by a gentleman that teaches people how to write a book and just really resonated with me after I'd gone through some counseling. And I just really wanted to broadcast my message because I think a lot of people need some guidance in how to get a roadmap on how to downsize and right size.
So is this coming from any personal experience, trying to get rid of stuff and simplify your life?
So my nature is to like order. I'm not OCD, but I kind of like to be that way.
Yeah.
So in my family, I have five sisters, and they were all praised for their various talents. And I tended to like order and cleaned off countertops. And I got tremendously teased for it. I mean, it was like an embarrassment. I was ashamed of it.
Oh,
And I came out of that around 30 at 38. And I was approaching 50, and I had a 2-year virus. I was in bed or on the deck, a lounge chair, on the couch for 2 years.
oh
And I
God.
could tell I was getting better. And so I walked over the edge of the deck and I just, Lord, what should I do for the rest of my life? My kids are going off to college. I don't want to be a sad, empty nester. What do I do? And almost audibly, I heard him say, help people get organized. I thought, that's weird, but that'd be fun. I did not know there was an association of professional organizers at that point. So I started my business in 2000.
Oh,
And
okay.
my very first client, believe it or not, was referred to me by a naturopath I was seeing at the time. I had asked the client if she saved used band-aids. And that just shocked me that I asked that, but the place was such a mess. And she goes, oh, I'm not that bad. She knew where I was going.
So it's kind of been in your nature to kind of stay organized and
Yeah, I tend to
tidy.
like order.
Found it helps. A lot of people actually can't even think in that kind of chaos. I'm one of
That's
those.
right.
I'm one of those who can't think in chaos. I got to have that order and structure before I can move on to something else. Some people, very creative minds, are very messy. So I'm sure you've come across
Yeah.
a few like that. What feedback have you gotten from your book so far?
I've had tremendous feedback from anywhere from people in their 75, 80 years old, and a 26-year-old guy praised me for the book. I couldn't believe it. It just surprised me.
Yeah.
You'd bother to read that?
How long's the book been out for now?
Since 2014.
Oh, okay. So it's definitely been around the block for a while. So people have had opportunity
Yes,
to
it's
get their
been well
hands on.
received.
Now, you said you started your business in 2000. Can you kind of go into what your business, like the model is, and maybe some customers you've helped?
Well, it's a learning curve. So in the beginning, and for much of the time, it was my own personal labor and physical ability to haul things out. And I accumulated the team of people who could help me pack things up, people who could load up a truck and take things to the dump or to a Goodwill or a thrift store, or people who could sell things. So and now kind of orchestrating people, they're 60 plus, on how to downsize and get ready to move. So my big overall pitch to everybody is, are you in a place where you could list your house in 30 days? If not, that's where you need to go.
Mhm.
And people are just shocked by that. I happen to say that when I was speaking to retirement community, and this man came up to me afterwards and he said, that's exactly what I need to hear. Now I know what to do. And so that just gives people an understanding. It's like, what's your blood pressure? What's your weight? I started asking women at events, I say, if tomorrow morning at 10, all your clothes were clean, will they fit in your closet and your dresser? And I would get, yeah, or I'd get, sure. And for some reason, I asked a woman, how many dressers do you have? I never asked anybody that. She said three. Her friends hit her. Not many people can afford or have the space for three dressers. So when some people say, no way, I say, well, where are your clothes? She goes, well, on the edge of the bathtub, in the guest room, at my mother's. And so it's just really understanding there's overload here,
Hmm.
overwhelm, and they need to have a plan to get. And some people just don't have a plan. So I helped a woman move to a retirement community. She had 40 pair of slacks, and I couldn't get her to whittle them down. I went, you don't need 40 pair.
Are you dealing with like folks who just have a hard time letting go?
That's part of it. Yeah. So they put their emotions into the stuff,
Yeah.
or they think if I let go of a set of dishes, it was my mother's, I'm throwing my mother away. It's like, oh, you're not using them. So I really hammer people, hammer's a hard word, but tattoo them with need use. Do you need it? Do you use it? But then I say everything has to have a purpose and a place. You can't just cram stuff in every little nook and cranny. It has to have a purpose for why you're keeping it.
Right. Well, like, well, how do you tackle that with someone who's emotionally connected to something? How do you just like throw logic at them until eventually they finally give in?
Let's just get really real. This dustpan was well used by your mom. She's passed away now. She's 3 years gone. Does this dustpan really represent your mom? Is that the thing you want to keep that represents your mom? Do you want to turn it into a sconce? What do you want to do? I don't get too ridiculous with them. I feel them out first, but people say that a dustpan. I don't know what happened for people born in the 40s and 50s. It's like every time their mother changed their diaper, they said, and you'll keep and you'll keep and you'll keep more stuff. I saved, I'm ashamed to say this. I kept my son's baby teeth. I have no idea why. Was I thinking of making an ivory bracelet? And I ran to mothers and do that. And then recently was telling a woman about this. She's, I almost kept my dog's baby teeth. I went, oh my gosh,
Yeah.
that's a fur. And so then I had a woman come up to me, a nurse, and she said, no, it's a good idea to keep those baby teeth because who knows that you might need the DNA. I go, oh God, that's just too weird.
Yeah, just get a hairbrush
Yeah,
as far as I know.
very good.
Yeah. I mean, guys don't usually use hairbrushes too much, but
Right.
girls tend to. What kind of tips do you have for those people who are the listeners here who might be looking to downsize or just declutter their home?
So the best thing to do is decide to do it and say, okay, I'm going to get to the place where I could list my home in 30 days. That's the big goal. I would like to be there by and set a time like next Labor Day or certainly by Halloween or whatever. So give yourself a couple months out. And as you go, you'll find out if you've made it too short a time. So then dedicate some time each week. You decide, like making a doctor's appointment. Every Tuesday from 10 to 12, I'm going to work on decluttering. And then you have to make an appointment like you wouldn't just cancel a doctor appointment. You'd really go to it. And so I would start in the kitchen because that's really, if you do that well, it just transfers to the whole house. So you open up a drawer and say, okay, do I need everything in here? And so you order what's in there. And that junk drawer, which I love junk drawers, but one junk drawer is enough. I just was visiting a lady, she had three. So the little checkbook boxes or at the container store, little containers to corral like things. So put like things together. All the pens go together, the paper clips, rubber bands. It's not just all swirling and swimming around in a drawer. It's what you need and use. I need to open this drawer and get a rubber band. I need a pair of scissors, not six. Do you need a pair of scissors? Well, yes, but six is excessive.
Yeah, that's what I was going to ask about is the amount of things because some people, oh, I'm going to save that for a rainy day. I've got a
Right.
lot of buddies who are, they're gearheads or they're tool guys, and I mean, I've got my fair share of tools and hardware too. But there's some who have crates and crates of nuts and
Yeah.
bolts. Like, when are you building something that you need all this for? Oh no, those are just in case I need a spare bolt. Then you don't need 300 pounds of steel or metal to do that.
So I worked with one couple. It was really well done. So after I worked in her home and kitchen for quite a bit, the husband said, "Okay, you can come in the garage." And oh my gosh, he had been working at junior college and he just loved stuff and he saw value in everything. So we brought it home because somebody would need it. He'd have it there to give them. It was terrifying. His wife and I worked well. So we put a big blue tarp on the driveway, nice Seattle weather, summer day, and we put all the electrical stuff out. We said, okay, sweetie pie, because she and her husband had talked that he would downsize. He would say he wanted to have more couple time because his garage was just packed. And so he decided, I will keep everything for my next three projects, everything else goes. So he would set the boundaries and lay out. And so we donated all kinds of electrical stuff. He had all kinds of metal that he ended up selling in Seattle.
There you
It
go.
was really wonderful. He had paint all over the garage because, of course, he on the side did painting. And so we consolidated all the paint in a 5 gallon bucket. So he's going to paint this tiny little house he's building on his property to rent. So he had this certain color, shade of white. He'd never be able to repeat it. But then we corralled and put all the paint together. We put all the electrical stuff together, all the plumbing stuff together. So put likes together that you're going to need and use.
Yeah.
And then it works. He had a bed up on the ceiling of the garage, not covered or anything, just gross. And so we brought that down. Obviously, he had several barbecues. And so we just kept thinning things down and having a junk place come and haul things away. He was ADHD. So he
ADHD.
was just having a problem with all of life. His wife was a good manager. So once he got whittled down, he ended up having a second business. So it worked out really well for him.
Oh, good. Yeah, so that he got organized enough so he could actually focus on something more important, or I guess
That's right.
to do with
So
life.
the key I keep stressing with people is need use, a purpose and a place, gathering like things together, and that pretty much helps them out.
And so you actually will go there, you'll go to their house, and you'll kind of coach them on how to do that whole process.
Right. And so as we're all getting older, we look back and go, oh my gosh, why did I keep all that stuff? So a woman, she was in her 80s, was the executor of her brother's estate. He and his wife passed away. Well, they got into the house. Had no one had been there in 40 years. She did not know he was a hoarder. In one room, there's 4 inches above the top of the box in the ceiling. That's how thick it was. So it's like there's a archaeological dig. Okay, this was a decade of photography. Oh, this was a decade of pottery. And so we had to just sit it down. And things had gotten so old we couldn't even donate it. So it's just being aware of what you're accumulating and staying in a place where you could list in 30 days. That helps you narrow it down.
So you said a few times that want to list in 30 days. So why do you think being ready to list a home in 30 days is important?
It's all about calming the chaos and staying in a simpler life so you don't have to stress out and all of a sudden have to hire all these people to help move you out. It's expensive. So the sooner you can let go of everything and take it through a thrift store, you don't have to pay people to do that. And then I also think about these poor young adults who inherit their stuff when their parents pass away. They're taking time off work, weekends, vacations to and it's just really a burden. So I want my kids to say, oh, I'm so glad mom did that. She got rid of all this stuff. And my mom was a good example in her 90s. She had been part of a what they call chatterbox in Ohio, a bunch of women in high school through college and life. And so my mom went through all her pictures and sent pictures of these women who were much older in their young life to their children. And so she got these wonderful letters back of their kids saying, I never saw my mom like that.
Mhm.
So she blessed a lot of people going through the stuff, and she had very little stuff.
I really appreciated some of my family members who've done the same thing. My uncle and aunt come to mind, actually. They had a very large home, and they kept it very neat, but they got to the point where they kind of looked at each other. They were retiring, and they go, why do we need this much room, this much space? We want to travel more. You don't need space to travel. They did the same thing that you're talking about. They actually called all the nieces and nephews over, and we took what we wanted slash needed. They gave away a bunch, threw away a whole lot, and they downsized to a 2 bedroom condo. Nice view, and they can relax. And they just spend their time traveling and spending time together. Both retired, and they seem like they're very, very happy with how they handled that transition.
That sounds perfect. So I'm speaking to a group for a retirement community at the end of the month, and a lot of patrol officers are in the group. So I got some specific questions. So this might help a lot of people. So there's a lot of brotherhood in the police work and the military. And so they have a lot of stuff. So I said, build a shadow box and put those special things, arrange them artistically in a shadow box, put it on the wall, and you have it. And then they mentioned rings. They had, for some reason, have a lot of rings. They said, buy a pretty container. I have a little alabaster container. It's on my dresser with a few rings in it that I no longer wear or they're special to me. So something like that works.
Sorry, when you had clients, do you go like do you spend a certain amount of time with them, and is it like an undetermined amount of time?
So well, I think I'm because of my age, I'm getting obviously starting 2000 or 23 years later. My body says I can't do everything I did 23 years ago. So I'm spending time with the people. I did this recently with a woman. She works 60 hours a week, has two kids under 10, and she's starting two more businesses. She wipes me out. Anyhow, she has way too much stuff. So, and her brain is so scattered, she can't pull it in. So we went through everything I've told you, and she started getting. So we walked through the room, but I went to her kitchen. I opened up the kitchen cabinets and showed her how disorganized they were and how she could be more efficient. I said, the same principle works in your bathrooms and all the rest of the house. And she got it. And so that took 2 hours. And then we're going to have what we call a progress report in a month. And we'll
Okay.
keep doing that. And so she has someone to cheer her on, someone she's accountable to, and she can hire help, or I have people that can come in and help her if she needs to. And that's working out really well. So I had a woman move from a very large home to an apartment on Lakeside, Sammamish Lake. You probably know that. And she wanted to look like a lake cottage. So I said, well, that lamp looks like a bordel. So we went through and talked about what needed to change. Her husband had a lot of things he needed to recharge at night
Hmm.
in the bathroom. So I said, why not get a toolbox and set things in the toolbox and the cords can come out and it'll just look not, like he's fishing.
Yeah.
And that made sense to her. And then she had room under her bed. Her closet was jam packed with stuff. I said, you really need that many set of sheets or towels.
Hmm.
And so we whittled it down a bit and then we put things under the bed. So you also have, once you're putting things in order, you have to have accessibility, have to have access to it. So you're not climbing up on a countertop, breaking your leg to get that box of chocolate, which has happened.
I'm sure.
So accessibility and visibility, you have to see what you have. If you can't see it, you forget you have it. That happens all the time. People just crack up. They have appliances. Well, I used that 15 years ago. It's just got back to the back, of a cabinet, taking up space. So it's knowing what you have and then making sure you're using what you have and need what you have. So I really want people to bless a lot of people with their stuff. That's what the thrift stores do. So if they help the homeless or women's shelter, and I have men who said, I'll downsize my garage because I tell them about this one place that gives money to the search and rescue dogs in the state of Washington. I'll have a dog.
Hmm.
So whatever motivates them, so you take stuff that's stored in your house for years or decades, you put it on a thrift store shelf, it sells and supports their mission. So that has happened to me. I go, what else can I give? I want to support more. And so that makes it fun.
Yeah, I bet that makes it a lot easier too when you find a source of passion for your clients, and you say
Right.
we can help these guys out by giving some of the stuff you don't use anymore. How long did it take you to write the book? Just kind of go and circle back to the book real fast.
I was so jazzed and powered up. I didn't do the regular 2 hours every day. I hammered it early in the morning.
Yeah.
So I did when I was inspired, and I stayed inspired until it was done. It was just a couple months. I
Okay.
wish I could remember exactly. It wasn't very long. I knew I had to have a certain number of pages so it'd be thick enough so the spine would show on a shelf. So I had to keep adding things I wouldn't had normally have added. I'm thinking about a second book that's just more practical, more of a workbook with the nuggets of just to do it. Because I added a lot of arrangements for rooms in my book. Um, a lot of things they don't have to have, but they have the jewel, the nugget of how to do it. But there's a lot of extra things I put in there to kind of pad it, so to speak.
I mean, you could always do a Rev 2 as well and throw all that stuff in there and be a little. I don't know how long. Do you remember how long or how many pages the book is?
I know it's about 40,000 words.
Okay, that's a solid book. Yeah, it's a good
Yeah,
size. You could definitely add some more stuff to there, but I know like you mentioned the workbook. That would be a really cool add-on. They go, hey, start in this room, go through and look through this. What do you need, want? Make your list. Okay, cool. Now here's some ideas for giving away or selling
right.
or whatever. That might be a nice step by step, process for someone going through a change, a transition to do.
Yeah.
So, what do people need to do to follow your book and to do some downsizing? Like, how do they use your book to help them downsize?
They have to first personally decide to do it. Set the intention. It's like, I'm going to my reunion, nothing's going to stop me. I'm going to downsize, nothing's going to stop me. And so I think that's the first thing because you can easily just let it slide by. It's an easy thing. You don't have to do it. You have to, or you might need to get a friend to keep you motivated. And that's what I do for a lot of people. And having that bi-monthly or monthly check-in really motivates them because A lot of times I've worked with people and they'll tell me they work 2 hours after I left because they're so motivated. They've got the juices going, so it's fun. Or they prepare for an hour or two before I get there.
Yeah.
And a lot of people realize at the end it was so hard they wish they'd done it 30 years ago. So this couple in their 80s says, no, we want me to do most of it. They want to save money. I said, all right. So they had a three-car garage. We made an aisle for donate to family, an aisle to give to the thrift stores, things like that. So we ordered it and then had people come in and take things out, and they took things, but they had vacations, they had health issues. It took them forever to do it, and they were exhausted. And so it's just really good to start now wherever you are, get to that point and stay there.
Yeah.
So a yearly run through the house. Oh, yeah, I need all these clothes. Oh, yeah, I still need all these tools.
Hmm.
Oh, I don't need 7 sets of sheets.
My wife and I are pretty good about going through the house. It's usually once every 2 years we seem to do a solid purge, as we call it, the biannual purge, and we'll go through every pretty much every room and go, what do we need? The kids need. It helps when the kids get older and they grow out of stuff, so we have
Right,
to move things out. We have to take the bigger one stuff, give to the younger one. The younger one stuff goes to younger kids, maybe cousins and whatever, and then that kind of gets the ball rolling with our
right.
clothes and bathroom and, as you name,
Yeah,
everything else. So are you pretty busy then on a general basis? Get a lot of clients?
I have had a lot of clients, right. And it's just surprising to me how it's morphed into more than 50, 60 plus now.
Yeah.
They're more aware and their lives are changing. They want to simplify, and I can help them simplify their life. And realtors are sending me clients that need to downsize before a move.
Oh, really? Oh, that's helpful.
Oh, it sure is.
Yeah.
This one couple, they're going to be moving to South Dakota from Washington State. And they had always been moved by the military, so they weren't used to moving. They didn't know how to downsize. I could start up a yarn shop with how much yarn she had. He had all these models of military tanks and planes. It was shocking how much stuff they had. And she thought if she sat in her chair for 3 hours, she did a lot of work, but nothing was happening. And the realtor finally said, "You've got to have Lisa." So I get in there with my team and we're just packing away. He got a bid to move his stuff, and I'm shocked. It was like $40,000. He said, "When I get there, I will get a dumpster." I'm like, "Are you kidding? You're gonna haul stuff you're gonna spend and then dump it. It's like throwing away money." And so you got to get ready for life. They had a 1 year heads up of that they were moving, and they did very little.
Yeah, you got to be proactive.
Yeah. And so because they didn't have a garage, we got one of those pods and load up a pod. And that really helped. He needed a second pod, but he wouldn't buy it. And they sold the house, but we had stuff stacked up one side of the wall to the ceiling, and people finally could get around it and see it. But we did the best we could because he just has limits. I
Yeah.
work within limits.
No, yeah, yeah. I mean, you can only do so much. You can't,
Right.
as the old saying goes, you can lead a horse to water. You can't make them drink. You can point out that they got a lot of stuff that you can't necessarily make them get rid of it. So
That's right.
now, where can people contact you to get your services?
Well, my website is my name. It starts with an Elisa Hawkinson.com. They can text me at 206-915-9911, or they can just simply go get my book it's an ebook on Amazon. It's called Calming Your Chaos. It's only $3.99. What a deal. Chapter 5 is a nugget. Chapter 6 is on moving. So I've helped people from Alabama move out of state and other states back east. So you can do things by phone now with FaceTime. It works well. As long as people speak English, that's my only language.
You'll do virtual meets.
Sure.
That helps a lot. Yeah, you probably can help a lot
Oh,
more people.
yeah.
That's
It's
great.
awesome.
Hmm.
People are because you can't always find an organizer where people live or other services that you need, but there's always thrift stores. There's always some retirement community that'll take things. So it's really helpful.
Great. That's great. Yeah. So you can basically go online like, hey, you're in Alabama and you're in Washington and well, there's a thrift store here, 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 here. You guys can go drop those off. So you can be using the internet. That's I think a good reason you have the internet now. It's good tools, good resources. And I mean, just like what we're doing here, having conversations virtually is a wonderful way. And it's great for business owners. So
Oh,
good.
yeah.
So many more people you can connect with, networking. It's that's a good thing that's helping your business out too.
Yes,
Yeah.
it's really
And then,
modernized it.
yeah, it really has. It's helped out a lot of people too, going remote and everything like that. So that helps probably a lot.
When we were kids, there were no, you got junk trucks. I mean, people didn't haul, the higher percentage haul junk, which tells you we've gotten into a bad place of having too much stuff.
Yes, we have. And a lot, I think, I don't know how the newer generation is handling all the stuff because the consumerism was a hot button for a while. And I don't know if it's anyone in their, I'm gonna say late 30s up were hoarding, or the younger age is starting to not have as much stuff, like actually go to minimalism as they called it. I really don't know. Have you seen anything like that? It's like younger people are going less, and then as they get older, they're staying that way, or
So I think typically less is more preferred. But
yes.
I have clients in their 30s and 40s that came from homes with parents who were hoarders, and that just tends to pass on down.
Oh, okay.
Or they were kind of impoverished as a family, and so you want more stuff. It makes you feel like, okay, you've arrived. So to help them understand, do you really need all that stuff? I have those people in my family, and it's hard. Anyhow, it gets very complicated. So you have to be very sensitive.
Oh, sure. So it sounds like it's really just depends on their upbringing
Yeah.
and how they handled, just items in general. So just to circle back to finalize, where can people go and buy your book again?
On Amazon Prime, it's Calming Your Chaos.
Okay, awesome. Well, that's great. Yeah, guys, go and grab her book. If you need a declutter, you need some tips to start, because it can be hard to go through all of your mounds of things. Hopefully it's not that bad, but if you need to, you can even give her a call and she'll come help you out. Lisa, thank you for joining us today and chatting about your book and your company and your services you provide people.
Thank you, Ryan. It's been a real joy this morning.
And everyone here, I really hope you enjoyed this. And as always, stay mighty and keep reading. Are you an author? Do you know someone who is? If so, then message me, Ryan Oliver, at ryanmoliver.com to set up a free appointment to discuss being showcased on the Mighty Books podcast. If you enjoyed this episode, make sure to subscribe to the Mighty Books YouTube channel and share the link to this and more episodes with your friends and family. Thanks for listening. So long for now. Stay mighty and keep reading.